This week, we look at zombies, villains, and how not to create a Kickstarter pitch. For the first time here on Kick It, I have to report a Kickstarter failure. I'm sad to report, well, sad isn't the best word, that Night Trap Revamped sadly did not reach its $350,000 goal. After the first week where the FMV remake raked in almost $30,000, the campaign lingered until the end, only making less than $10,000 during the rest of the campaign. From the get-go, this Kickstarter was doomed to fail. While they did release a concept of what the footage would look like in HD, mere days after I brought it up on this show, there seemed to be no hope for the project.
Control, how could you let that happen?
My Number 9's beta has officially launched on Steam for backers of $80 or more. There are some reports that it will be released later as a public early release, but no confirmation as of yet. Yacht Club Games have reported that Shovel Knight will finally be coming to Australia's Wii U eShop after receiving a PG from the Australian Classification Board, mere days after it was announced that the classification process is being reformed for digital titles. The Dear God are working towards their inevitable alpha build and release some more concept footage. We see our character dealing with new enemies like hunters and foxes, as well as new powers like rain that kills foxes. And also, here is the just released intro.
Don't think we're gonna find any tonight. Not in this weather.
Yeah, I've had enough. Going to bed. You staying up?
Gonna watch the fire a little while. See you in a bit. Finally, I have a shot at this one. Steady. This might be my only chance.
Stu Brett, aka Super Famicom Guy, recently launched a campaign to release a book called Super Famicom Box Art Collection, detailing every single box art from the Super Famicom library. Sadly, the campaign had to be cancelled due to trouble seeking copyright clearance for more obscure titles and ones that have been moved from company to company. Stu says that he does intend to finish the book, as well as having received publishing offers outside of Kickstarter. Speaking of game books, popular webcomic Brawl in the Family, which will be ending its run later this year, went on to Kickstarter this past week to fund publishing of the complete collection as books, and received its $50,000 funding almost immediately. And lastly, after 60 days, the coolest Kickstarter is now over, with them walking away with a grand total of over $13.2 million, making it the biggest Kickstarter campaign in history. One of the simplest campaigns you can do on Kickstarter is make a 2D RPG. And while most would just be happy making a Final Fantasy, Earthbound or Chrono Trigger clone, some people want to take the 2D RPG a step forward. Introducing Elysian Shadows, a game set for release on Steam, Ouya, and this thing. Taking aspects of classic 16-bit RPGs and mixing it with modernized dynamic lighting, physics, and switching between 2D and 3D perspectives. The team's goal for this game they've been working on for the past 7 years was to create a true next-gen 2D RPG. I'm amazed by the detail of the pixel art, as well as what seems to be a real working world, with a lack of any actual overworld. The Dreamcast part was what really got my attention, as they'll be releasing this as if it were a legitimate Dreamcast release. Like it was 1999 all over again! In your choice of Japan, US or PAL covering. As of now, the funding on Kickstarter is over, with them making over $185,000, well past their $150,000 goal. And if you missed out, don't worry, you can still pledge via PayPal. If they reach $250,000, the game will be released on current gen systems, Wii U, Xbox One, and PS4. The game is set for release in December of next year. Zombies have never really been my thing, but this game caught my eye. A little action game called Raise the Dead, an adventure game that lets you play the life and afterlife of Ray LaMorte. The story will apparently switch between Zombie Ray and Living Ray and explain his death and the mysterious device on his head. Taking inspiration from both The Legend of Zelda and Pikmin, you are able to resurrect your fallen enemies and have them join you in this 80s style world. Right now the game has met its funding goal of $30,000 and still a week of the campaign is left to go. Currently, the game is set for Steam and PS4, but a Wii U goal is set for $65,000. Let's face it, sometimes you just want to play the bad guy. And while some games like Overlord and Infamous have created the feeling of playing the villain, I can't remember a game where you play as an old school 2D villain. And by that, I mean kidnapping princesses. I'm amazed this concept hasn't really been done before. And then, I met Nefarious. Playing as the villain Crow, the game shows the parallels between a hero and villain's journey. As a villain, you are kidnapping princesses of all shapes and sizes. And sometimes, the plans go awry. I'm really digging the art style of this game, and just the basic premise. You're that character down there, you're in the big robot with super crushing powers. And it's awesome! As of now, they're planning a release on Steam and Wii U, but with less than 2 weeks to go, they've only made $22,000 of their $50,000 goal. And KickTrack is reporting an ending reach of only 70% of their goal. So, contribute now, please. It isn't just Tim Burton and American McGee who can put a new spin on old fairy tale. Introducing Wolfie, the Red Hood Diaries, a platformer about who else? Little Red Riding Hood, being developed by Belgian studio Grin. Just a side note, given the history, Grin may not be the best name for a studio. But anyway, using Unreal 3 Grin are developing an amazingly detailed 3D platformer which has Red taking an axe and battling toy soldiers and a giant puppet. At the end of the campaign, they passed their $50,000 funding goal by over $20,000, with plans for Steam, PS4, and Xbox One. Hey, if it can work for Alice, then let's see how Red Riding works in the hood. When it comes to making a good Kickstarter pitch, one thing that works really well is having something to show, whether it's an alpha concept or even just a basic prototype. People are more likely to spend money on actual product rather than just a mere concept. This is where I feel Sienna Storm failed. The developers, Digital Knights, have chosen to, instead of showing gameplay, instead chose to wow you with the name power behind their team, and a bunch of what I really hope is concept art. I don't know, they never told us. The problem is, this trailer feels like a trailer for a game that already has financial backing, instead of when I was looking to get $179,000. Reading there, what is Sienna Storm, is only more confusing. Is it an adventure game, a card game, a choose your own adventure game? And I've actually read it. Most people would have looked at the pitch video, got bored/confused, and turned away. This Kickstarter reeks of arrogance. You can't just get funding on name power and ideas alone. I'm well aware that Tim Schafer won Kickstarter by doing just that. But that was different. I actually know who Tim Schafer is. I never knew who the writer of Deus Ex was. Nor did I really care. Now if Warren Spector went on Kickstarter, that may be a different story. As for Sienna Storm, KickTrack is predicting they will barely reach half of their goal when it ends on September 18th. GamerX, a convention focusing on LGBT issues in gaming, is returning for a third time, and are on Kickstarter asking for $80,000. And as of filming, only needs less than $15,000 to fulfill funding. However, it seems GamerX has evolved into GX, Everyone Games. Despite all the controversy and such that's happened lately, stuff I really don't want to get into, by the way, it's nice to be reminded that most people here just want to have fun and enjoy gaming. GX3's campaign ends on September 16th. And I'll see you all next time, here on Kick It.